Back in 2010, my family went to Malaysia. We went to the island of Penang, and I taught in a seminary there, and we were hosted by a missionary and his family who were starting an international Christian school there. And so he was showing us around the island of Penang and taking us into all of the different experiences that we need to have in order to get a sense of what this place is. And one of the things that we needed to experience was traffic. Traffic and driving is it's crazy. You can't even describe it. And so we were walking through an old neighborhood, and this traffic was just roaring by. And the place he wanted to take us was across the street. So I'm holding Malcolm's hand. Malcolm is about 5 years old. And Russell, the missionary, turns to me and he says, "I know the traffic looks pretty chaotic, but we're just going to step out into the street. They'll stop, and everything will be fine." My response was something like, "No," and Malcolm kind of squeezed my hand a little tighter, but Russell wasn't listening to me. He just stepped out into the road, and I followed him after a deep gulp, and everything stopped. And we crossed the road, said hi to a few motorcycle riders, and crossed to the other side safely, no incident, and went where he wanted us to go. When you go into a new place, you need a guide. You need someone to show you what really is dangerous and what is not dangerous. And when you have a guide, you do what that guide says. You follow in that guide's footsteps. You follow closely sometimes, because it is necessary for us. We're talking about wisdom this year at BG. We're talking about the book of Proverbs for this entire academic year. And as we do this, we're starting out thinking about wisdom as a journey. This is somewhere we are going. It's a process we're going through. Wisdom is a reset of your life emotionally. We are continually invited by wisdom to go on this journey. We saw that a couple of weeks ago. And the journey begins, we depart from this, on this journey toward wisdom at a very specific emotional point. And that point is the fear of the Lord. We talked about that last Sunday, that we set our emotional baseline from the fear of the Lord, and we begin the journey toward wisdom from that point. All other benefits of wisdom flow out of that one point of departure. But this morning, we're going to acknowledge the fact that if we're going to journey toward wisdom, we need guides. It's like any other journey. You encounter new things. There are dangerous things. There are things you don't know how to handle. And so here we are. I'm pushing the button, and it's not working on this thing. Not sure what is happening on the PowerPoint here, but there we go. So it's like a mountain climb up here. This is a picture of climbing up Mont Blanc, and so I would need a guide in order to do that successfully without dying. Actually, I would not do it at all. I just would. I would be in a hotel and I would look at Mont Blanc and I would say, somebody else, have a nice time climbing that thing. Guide or no guide, I ain't going. But wisdom says you're going. And you're going into new territory. These are different things. This is a different way to look at life. It's not like what you've done before. And so we need a guide. We need many guides. And we're going to talk about some of those this morning. But I think one point that I would like to make before we start this, one of our conceptions of wisdom is that wisdom is true information. If I can get the truth, the facts I need, then I can make the decisions that I need to make in order to live my life wisely. And that's kind of how we conduct ourselves in terms of health, or what should we eat, how should we exercise, how should we run our finances. We get the facts, and then we make the decision. Biblical wisdom is different from this. Biblical wisdom would say you don't need an app, you don't need a book. Wisdom isn't about information. Wisdom is deeper than a DIY video. Wisdom, you must have a guide, and that guide needs to be a person. And that person you respond to is not just giving you information. That person is walking in front of you or alongside of you saying, follow me, do what I do, go where I go, avoid what I avoid. When I don't step in a place, don't step there. When I do step somewhere, no matter how frightened you are, follow me on that path. You know what this is doing? This is saying you don't really make the decisions. Facts or no facts, everything is being filtered through what you perceive, your point of view, your emotional baseline in life. You need a guide who can say, no, just ignore all of that, step out into traffic in the middle of a city in Penang, and everything will stop, it'll be fine. And so we need a person, and biblical wisdom in this journey is an interaction of responding to a person with this word we don't use anymore: honor. When was the last time you used the word honor? This is a word that has disappeared because the emotional world of paying honor to someone because of who they are is gone. We honor very few people. In fact, you could argue we don't honor anybody. We have people who are popular, and we respond to them with adulation, but that's not honor. There are people who are celebrities and famous, and we respond to them with a kind of giddiness that, oh, I'm seeing a famous person. I'm in the same room with a famous person, or I got a like from a famous person to my comment on Instagram or something like that. That proximity to fame excites us. That is not honor. We're going to look at what honor is in relation to a guide this morning, and we're going to look at the first 6 verses of Proverbs chapter 3. In fact, we're going to live in Proverbs chapter 3 for the next 3 weeks as we look at the various insights into wisdom that it gives here. So let's dive into this passage and look at 3 different kinds of guides in our life and the honor that we are commanded to give these guides. And as we think about this, I would like you to have in view the deep place of your heart and mind out of which you respond instinctively at gut level, positively or negatively. What's going on in that place where something happens to you, something strikes you, somebody says something to you, and your instant response, your gut level response is one thing or another? What's happening down there in that deep place as we think about these various guides? The first guides mentioned in Proverbs chapter 3 are parents. My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. So we're looking at a series of statements that are all structured the same way. They have the same parallel structure. They begin with a contrasting pair of lines, and they continue with synonymous pairs of lines. So the contrasting pairs of lines here are, my son, do not forget my teaching, but, here's the contrast, let your heart keep my commandments. So this is a very Hebrew way of speaking, especially poetically. And what it's saying is, no, really, don't lose sight of what I have taught you, son. Don't forget this. Let your heart keep my commandments. And notice what that second line is saying. Don't forget. Let that obedience, that energy of devotion to what I am calling you to do, let it come from that deep place, your heart. So, again, I'm asking you, what's going on down there in that deep place, that gut reaction place? This word heart, it's used all over the Old Testament. It's used in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, it's really the seat of everything you are as a person. Your mind, your passions, your emotions, your identity, your will. Everything is knit together in this place the Old Testament calls your heart. It's the totality of your person. And so is your heart about your emotions? Yes, but it's also about your mind. It's about the way you think. Is your heart about your ability to deliberate in a decision? Yes, it is. But it's also about instinctive acts of will, acts of obedience. It's about all of those things. So let your heart keep my commandments. So that's different, right, from just do what I tell you to do. Just follow me. Just obey. Obey without reasons. Just do it because I told you to do it. That's a very surface level, external way of honoring these guides. It's not really honor at all. This father here, Solomon, is saying to his son, let your heart, the deep place of who you are, keep my commandments. I'm telling you this stuff as a personal witness of what is wise and what God requires. So keep these commandments from your heart. Now here's the second piece of each one of these statements. Verse 2, this is the reason you should do this, my son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments, for length of days and years of life and peace they will add to you. So this is a kind of extended statement or maybe a synonymous parallel lines, but it's probably an extension of the first line. You'll have a long life. Years of life, these things will add to you, and shalom, peace. Now, we hear that word shalom, and we know it means peace, but you may have been told this about the word shalom. It actually means something more like wholeness, connectedness, integrity. So we think of peace as kind of good feelings, the absence of bad feelings, the absence of conflict. In the Old Testament, shalom is this state where you internally have integrity. There are no secret compartments in your life. There's nothing divided from another part of your life. Your life is open and it is connected internally. And outward from you, you are whole with the people around you, too. You are connected to them. You have community with them, and it's healthy community. It's not divided. It's not alienated. It's not hostile. It's connected. It is all of these parts of life moving together. Now, you might be thinking, that's a big promise, and I don't believe it. I don't believe it because I have not experienced a father or a mother telling me good things. As you sit here this morning, you may be thinking, manipulation, I know. Abuse, I am very familiar with that. Gaslighting, know all about that. Disapproval, disappointment, all of those things, very experienced with all of those things. But what this describes, I don't know. How am I supposed to pay honor to a person who has not honored me? How do I do that? So a couple of thoughts about this. First of all, this is a very important question. And one of the best perspectives that I've gotten on this is from people who are godly. They've been on a wisdom journey for a while, and they came from homes where they were alienated from their parents. Their parents were hostile to them. They had all of these kinds of negative things that we just described. And I have been privileged to be the pastor of these people when those parents die. And all communication is permanently cut off. There is no more reconciliation possible in this life. It's done. And you're standing around the grave, and the person is in the grave, and that's it. What I've learned from these godly people who face that moment, and it's a very difficult moment, is that they go into a process of sorting. They sort through the things that they're not grateful for because they were negative, abusive, deeply wrong. And so they can't say, Lord, I'm so grateful that my father or mother treated me this way. No one can say that. But they do sort through the legacy that they have received, and they say, but these things I will choose to remember because they were good, even in the context of the bad things. I would encourage you, do that sorting of your legacy. Whatever you have inherited and received, go through it and sort out the good from the bad. The Bible does not call us to honor what is abusive, sinful, hateful to God. We're not to honor those things. But the relationship with a parent, it's something that no one chooses. The parent doesn't choose us, and we do not choose the parents. And so this perspective says, you have received at least life. You have received some things in addition to life that are good. Receive those things. Give thanks for those things. Honor those who gave you those things. Here's another perspective on it. That one's kind of very focused on your immediate relationship with your parents. I would encourage you to take on board the Hebrew way of thinking of fathers and mothers. It's not just two people directly related to you. It's all of them, all the way back through the genealogy. I would encourage you, if your immediate parents you're looking at that and you're not able to honor them, and you're going through that sorting process, but you're saying, I need more. What else have you got? Well, go back a few generations. Ask some questions about the people who came long before you. And I would encourage you to devote time to doing that, because it gives you a sense of the larger train of people who gave to you and made your life possible. Now, here's why this kind of guidance is important for wisdom. And I'm spending time explaining this because we don't get it. We don't understand this. We have completely lost this. Now, many of you have not lost this. You're coming from other cultures where this is still very much a live part of life. And I understand that. But in terms of Americans, and in particular today, this concept is nowhere. So here's where this is coming from. If you want to know where you're going, you have to know where you came from. If you want to chart a course in the future, you have to know something about the past. And you have to acknowledge that where you're starting began long ago. Or, to put it more simply, you did not invent yourself. You didn't create your own life, and you cannot do so. Wisdom acknowledges there's this limit on what you're able to do. And we're in an age when we want maximum freedom for self-definition, self-creation. I'm just going to mold myself the way I want to be as if nothing came before me. It's not possible. It's folly. So we begin with these guides, parents, and this long line of legacy. And what this is saying is, very simply, if you know where you come from, you have a future. If you don't know where you've come from, and you have not done that sorting to honor what came before you and made your life possible, if you haven't done that work, you don't have a future yet. You have fantasies. And that's not enough. So, there's guidance coming from our legacy, the inheritance we have received. And in this case, the father in Proverbs is saying, "My son, do not forget my teaching. Let your heart keep my commandments." If your parents have given you anything good, receive it, take it in, build on that. It is not up to you to level everything that is wrong. It is up to you to build on what is good. And that is the beginning of a heart of wisdom. It's the beginning of a heart of honor. Let me just check for questions. Okay, next, guides. Companions. I don't know if you've thought about this, but in verses 3 and 4, there's another type of guidance that you're receiving, and this is more mutual. This is where you're receiving guidance and you're also giving guidance, and that has to do with your companions on this journey. You're not journeying alone. There are people around you. There's your immediate family. There's your friends, co-workers. There's people here at church. There's people all around you who are walking with you on this journey. And some of those people have guidance for you, but it's not the same as a parent's guidance. It's just they're walking with you and they're making observations on the journey and they're learning and you're learning from them. So it's more shoulder to shoulder. Now watch how this passage treats that kind of guide. The guide of the people around you. Verse 3. Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your, what's that word? Heart. So we're back to that deep place where gut reactions are happening all the time. Every moment, there's something that your heart is reacting to. What is that? What's going on down there? Well, this says in this first contrasting statement, don't let these things forsake you. Don't let them take another path and you keep going on your own path. Don't let that happen. Instead, bind these things around your neck. Make them like a necklace or even a necktie, perhaps. Put them there so you won't leave them, you won't forget them. Bind them around your neck. Or here's another image with the same idea. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Write them. Take your hand and take a tool and engrave these things on your heart. That's different from typing them on a screen. That's different from thumb typing them on a phone. This is personal, it's mechanical, it's your handwriting appearing on, in this case, a tablet, maybe a tablet of stone, like the Ten Commandments. Maybe it's a plank of wood that you carve these things into that plank, or maybe it's stone, like you get out a hammer and chisel and you carve it in stone, literally. So this is taking all of this imagery and saying your heart is one of these things. Your heart is receiving the permanent impress of what you write. Your handwriting is on your heart every day. So write these things. Now we're wondering, well, what things? Two things. Verse 3 again. Steadfast love and faithfulness. So you've got all these people traveling with you, your companions on the journey. And all of these people traveling with you, they're helping you. Maybe you get tired and so they take a little bit of your load and then you take it back later and resume carrying it. Maybe that kind of burden sharing. Or maybe they say, oh, I've been here before, let's go this way, not that way. And so they help you that way. Maybe you help them with similar kinds of actions. This is saying, of all the things that you do, bind Hesed around your neck. Hesed is steadfast love or loyal love. Hesed is the love that God has for us that never changes. It is permanent. It is steadfast. It is, in fact, eternal. It's coming deep from who God is toward us. And so we are taking a characteristic of God and of His name, steadfast love, loyal love, and we're showing that to our companions. Question, what's going on in that deep place? That gut reaction place. When I bring up the people around you, what is the gut reaction? Fear? Suspicion? Is it immediate affection, appreciation? Is it more complicated than that? This is saying, in your gut reaction place, write the word steadfast love. No matter what's going on, no matter what they're doing to me, no matter how I feel toward them, I will show them loyalty, loyal love, love that they can count on. Second thing, faithfulness. Emet is the Hebrew word. We name some people Emet. Just means truth. Did you know this? truth and faithfulness are the same concept in Hebrew. It's a personal characteristic, not a proven fact. We take everything as Westerners and abstract it. But the Hebrew mind, very literal. Here's a person you can trust, a person you can count on. They will not steer you wrong. They are true. They are straight. They are faithful, these people. So again, no matter what my companions are doing with me or to me, I am going to show back to them emet, truth, faithfulness. So you have this combination of loyal love and faithfulness/truth. And what this does is it binds you to your companions. Now your gut reaction place just did something. Something just happened in there when I said those words. Bind you to your companions. It is possible that your heart said, nope. Oh no. No, I don't do that. I'm not bound to anybody. I don't have that kind of relationship with anybody. I look after myself because I can't trust any of them. Now, this is saying something completely different. This is saying, be the person they can trust, and that's your job. Don't let it depart from you. Write it on a tablet in your heart. You be that person, and you may be a guide to them, but let those principles guide your relationships to other people. Downright un-American. We don't think this way. We don't want this. We don't pursue life this way. We want freedom. We want unattachment. We want options, especially when things go south. We want an out. Where's the exit? And this is saying, wisdom says, no exits. Be faithful. Now, faithfulness does look different to different people, and faithfulness and truth. This concept does not mean you go along with everything the people in your life want to do. That's not what this is saying. But this is saying that one of the ways you stay faithful to them is by being true. One of the things that is most remarkable about our national life here in America right now is not what we call polarization, that people have disagreements and they're very polarized and very angry about their disagreements. American people have been polarized from the get-go. Truth be told, we've had deep disagreements all the way back. Nothing new is happening right now. Nothing. What is different is that we are very comfortable with betrayal. We're good with this. If we think that somebody has departed from our way of thinking, just knife them, that's all. Look anywhere you like. Politics, academia. The betrayal of personal loyalty and truth is destroying us. And there's only one way to get that back, and that is to honor our companions. And so, interesting things here. The problem just shifted from our honoring our parents, when maybe our parents don't do everything honorably. Well, our companions don't do everything honorably either, and we still have to honor them. Listen, if you want to build a life that is autonomous, unattached, full of options and freedom, with lots of clearly marked exits from all your relationships, You will die alone, and you will die a fool. And I'm putting it that bluntly because it is possible that the confrontation of this one thing, that steadfast love and faithfulness are not written on the tablet of your heart, this one thing could change your life from folly to wisdom. This one thing. Let's do a third one. Both of these kinds of honor to our guides are coming from a deep place. And when we have honor for our parents and all that we've inherited, and when we have honor for our companions, and we show them that steadfast love, that kind of honor is really coming from a deeper honor. And this is the key to the entire book of Proverbs. Remember last week, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Here we get the same structure, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. So the contrasting thing here is it starts with the thing you should do. Trust in the Lord with all your what? Heart. With everything down in the deep place where your gut reactions are. Trust the Lord there with your whole person. And do not lean on your own understanding. What would that be? Freedom, no attachments, lots of options, lots of exits. Lean not on that. Why? Because it's folly. Your life is oriented outward from your honor toward Yahweh to honor toward your parents, that most intimate of relationships, to honor toward your companions. And this means that everything good in your life, the length of it, the peace in it, the vitality and wisdom of it, it all spreads outward from a heart change, a flip in the gut reaction place, a change where you no longer feel about your life the way you did. And you are embracing things that were hateful to you before. You are loving things that were hateful to you before. And this heart change is a heart change toward the Lord himself. Trust in the Lord, Yahweh, with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. And how much energy should you devote to this? In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. So there's this act of faith. It's kind of like me trusting Russell to get across the street. Russell said, just walk out into traffic, it'll stop. And he did, and we had a straight path across the street. Because I had kind of an instinctive honor. Russell, he may be crazy, but he's alive. So I followed him. The Lord has all of these directions for us, and they all go back to chesed and emet, steadfast love and truth. He has all of these directions for us, and he models all of those directions for us. So when our heart changes toward him, he's not hateful to us anymore. He's not an imposition on us anymore. He's lovely, worthy of praise. We start pursuing him instead of running away from him. All these things shift, and then suddenly honor starts to emanate from inside our hearts, and it works out in our families, it works out in our all of our life relationships. So, in all your ways, acknowledge him. Let that honor that you give to God be expressed everywhere you go, in whatever you do. Colossians 3 might say, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, no matter what work you're engaged in, do everything for the glory of Jesus Christ with an attitude of thankfulness in your heart to God. So that's the whole life. What is this? This is the gospel in the Old Testament. There's a hole here. How is this going to happen? How can my heart change? Who can change it? I can't change my own heart. I am the way I am. So who's going to change this? The New Testament comes along, and wisdom shows up in the person of Jesus. And wisdom says to us, come to my place. I'll change your heart. I'll change that deep gut reaction place. And a different energy will start flowing out of your life, an energy of devotion and honor that is appropriate to me and to the people around you. The Old Testament is describing this for us in the book of Proverbs. A couple of questions here. Can you give us an example of Hesed love in Scripture, how someone can honor and love a sinful, unloving parent? Sure. It would take all day to give many examples because there's just too many of them. I'll show you the most prominent one. If you go to Exodus 34, you'll find that Israel has made an idol and put the Lord's name on it. They made a golden calf, and they called it Yahweh. And the Lord said, I'm going to kill them because they broke my commandments. They have not shown steadfast love to me. And Moses pleaded as the mediator for Israel and said, no, you can't do that. You'll break your promise to Abraham. You promised him that you would build a great and redemptive nation out of his name. You can't cut that off. And the Lord said, you're right. You understand me very well. So I am going to proclaim my name before you, the Lord, Exodus 34:6, filled with steadfast love, chesed. And because I have steadfast love, I am doing good to Israel, which has slandered me. Can't have a better example of how we are to treat the sinners around us than how the Lord treated Israel and how he treats me every day with steadfast love. Great question. Let's keep going with a couple of closing questions here. As we think about that deep place where gut reactions are happening all the time, let me ask you two diagnostic questions. Am I locked up? If I got that deep place walled off and a big old padlock on the door, no one affects me, no one gets in. I control this place. Nobody tells me how to feel, what to do, where to go. I control this place. It's locked up. If you're saying, yeah, I'm locked up, life's dangerous. People are unfaithful. I've been betrayed. I've been abused. And if I don't lock this up, it's going to happen again. The Bible's wisdom comes to you and says, unlock it, tear down that wall, let the Lord in. He will change it. And even when you are abused, dishonored, and betrayed, even if that does happen, the Lord will inhabit that deep place, your heart, and he will repel all of the evil that was intended to hurt you. And he will transform your heart into a place of shalom, not walled off, not divided, not hostile, but at peace. Second diagnostic question: whom have I shut out? So I've got a bouncer at the door to my heart. It's not locked, but only the chosen few are getting in. There's a long line of people who want into my heart, but the bouncer takes a look at them. Do you have an invitation? No? You're out of here. You're not getting in. Because the host of this club doesn't want you in there. Whom have I shut out? Whom have I said, I am not giving any emotional space to this person? I'm not saying you open yourself up to every kind of abuse, betrayal, and all of those things. A lot of Proverbs is about how to avoid doing that. But there's a fundamental principle here that we still owe truth and faithful, steadfast love to those who hurt us. And one of the ways in which we are destroying everything good in our society is we are refusing to give it. We are saying, in effect, to people around us, you are so beyond the pale of evil. I don't owe you anything. So my question to you is, if you're locked up and if you're shutting certain people out, invitation only, what would it look like for you to say, Lord, Yahweh, Jesus, I invite you into my heart. I want you to occupy that space. And I want you to take me on a journey. I want you to guide me on a journey toward another way to live, because this feels awful and it's killing me. Will you change me? The glory of the Bible and the wisdom of Scripture is that Proverbs chapter 3 is fulfilled in Jesus. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and He will make your paths straight.